The Last of Us Part 2 has to be one of the hardest games I've ever played because it had so many great things attached to it, yet it was always held back by so many other aspects. And I'll admit, right from the start, I wasn't one of those people that played the first game all those years ago. I wasn't a part of that hype buildup for 7 years. Instead, I played the first game and absolutely loved it. I was lucky enough to play the first game and get connected to the characters. And once I finished it, I jumped into the sequel 2 days later. It was like watching a great season of a series and right away jumping into season 2. I was excited and I was ready to see this master storytelling come full circle. I wanted to know if Ellie was going to finally realize that Joel lied to her. I wanted to see how their relationship was going to unfold. And everything about the first game hit me like a truck. Every character moment meant something to me, and I utterly adored that game. Which makes this review that much more heartbreaking, because not only did the story fall completely flat for me, but I felt that the developers were trying to shove its narrative down my throat, and they used cheap tricks in order to convey that message to me, which I will explain later in this video. But I do have to say, this video review will have spoilers because I just want to talk about the story without watching what I have to say. And the best way to give a review is if I explain what problems I had in the game. But of course, I'll talk about the graphics of the game and how it shapes up. I'll talk about the sound attached to those graphics. Then I'll move on to the controls and how the game plays. From there, I'll get into the story and the campaign, which will be the meat of this video. And then I'll wrap it up with the fun factor and conclusion. So yes, I want this to be an in-depth review because I have a lot to say. With that said, let's get into one of the most divisive games I've ever played in my entire life. But first, like always, if you like the video, hit that subscribe button and that like button. The support is greatly appreciated. Alright, so let's get into the first thing about this game, which is the graphics. I mean, what can I say? This game looks exquisite. I was lucky enough to play this on my PS4 Pro, so I do have to say it's one of the best looking games I've ever seen. The lighting, the environments, the character animations, everything in this game screams high quality. You could tell the developers took a lot of time to make this the best looking game they've ever made, hands down. Even the creepy creatures that roam the world look freaking amazing. They truly make your skin crawl when you run into them. And you don't start appreciating this game until you're running from store to store or running to room, dodging enemies, and you forget just how great the game looks. But once you're done and you killed everything that was trying to harm you, you really start to appreciate the amount of detail in every single area. The only other game I can remember being this impressed with was Gears 5, where in the campaign I was constantly impressed with every single place I went into. The Last of Us 2 has that in spades. Every single area I was going to made my jaw drop. I was continuously impressed with the amount of content in this game, and I couldn't help but sit and look around the world in awe. Naughty Dog has really set the standard for themselves, and this game makes me even more excited about their next project, which will be coming to the PS5. I can't wait to see what they can do with all the new technology, especially when it comes to facial animations and story progression, because this game was so well acted and the visual effects were not held back. This has to be the best mocap animations I've ever seen. I mean, just look at the detail here. It's all about the world building, but all of this detail and cool graphics won't mean a thing if the controls were terrible. Which brings me to my next topic, which is the controls. Now I have to say, the controls of the first Last of Us was a little clunky, and I could tell it was an older game when I played it. But I'm glad to say that this isn't the case with The Last of Us 2. I truly think this game has some of the best controls Naughty Dog has ever made. Do I think it's on par with God of War or Gears 5? Not even close. I have a feeling that the controls could be tightened up here and there, and again, it was such a drastic improvement over the previous game that I felt okay with it. Were there times where the controls got in the way of me executing something I had planned? Sure, but that almost happens in every single game I play. But with this game, I always felt in control of my character, and I felt when things got crazy and I had to run around quick or perform a crazy combo, I always felt in control. I never got annoyed with the controls, and I didn't mind playing the game with the PS4 controller, which is a huge feat for me. I've said it before in previous videos, the only game I've played that made me forget I was playing with a PS4 controller is God of War. And I have to say, this game came in at a very close second because I enjoyed the majority of my time playing this game with the controls that were provided to me. Were there some things I could see improved upon? Of course, but overall, I enjoyed the controls a lot. Next up is the sound of the game. I'm talking about the sound of the clickers you hear, to the walking in a rain-filled area, all the way to hearing what actors have to say in a cutscene. And I'm glad to report the sound in the game is top notch. I highly, and I mean highly, recommend you play this game with a nice pair of headphones, because everything sounds amazing in the game. The environments, the way everything feels around you. I'm talking even the soundtrack completely adds to the game. Every single aspect of this game when it comes to the sound is handled with great detail. There were moments when I would walk around and I'd hear an infected to my left or my right, and because of how faint the sound was, I was prepared, and once I heard it, the game knew I heard it. So the music would change, and I knew it was time to get serious and try my best to survive. It's something that really built the immersion in the game and instantly got me hooked. And when you're watching a cutscene and you're enjoying the amazing acting on screen, the game is backed by an amazing soundtrack, not to mention some of the best voice acting I've ever heard in a game. And when you combine all of that together, you truly have a Naughty Dog game that's surrounded by high production and amazing visuals, tied with an amazing soundtrack. The game really does go to new heights once you sit there and are truly immersed. I have to hand it to them. They really did knock the sound right out of the park. Good job, Naughty Dog. But now it's time for the part of the game that I had the most trouble with, which is the story campaign. So I have to warn you, so far the video has been about mechanics and all the cool things I found about the game. But now I'm going to go into spoilers because I just have to. It's the only way I can truly express how I feel about the game. So first of all, I truly think this story was completely and utterly forced by a storyteller. In no way, shape, or form do I think something like this helps me get to know a character better or feel bad for another character. And that character is Abby, who is a completely new person introduced into the game. And to be honest, the whole story is putting its eggs in one basket, which is the Abby basket. If you don't agree with her motives or feel any type of sympathy for her, then the game will fall flat on its face, and for me, that's exactly what happened. The first 3 hours of the game, you see Abby torture and murder Joel right in front of his brother, not to mention his daughter figure, Ellie. And it isn't easy to watch, but it's something that really builds the story for revenge. So as you go and play as Ellie, you're on this murderous rampage trying to find Abby and all her friends so you can kill them. And once you finally are confronted by Abby in the middle of the game, you switch perspectives and you continue to play as Abby for about 8 to 10 hours. You see her side of the story and understand why she wants revenge on Joel. But as I'm playing the game, I realize I just don't care about her motives, because she's just as petty as anyone else and wants revenge for Joel for killing her father, who, by the way, is the doctor in the first game that Joel kills. You know, the guy that wanted to kill a 14-year-old girl without her knowing, so he can get a cure for the fungus infecting the world, which again, I have a lot of reservations about. I mean, how can we be sure the Fireflies are these all good humans and they won't use the cure as a weapon? Because that's a massive amount of power, and if there's one certain thing in human history, we as humans will always find a way to weaponize an amazing discovery. So that instantly made me feel less annoyed with Joel's decision all the way back in the first game when he decided to save Ellie. I actually agreed with him because you know what? He loved her like a daughter. What father wouldn't do that to protect his family? Which brings me back to the Abby story. Throughout the whole story, you honestly get to play some of the best missions in the game with her. And frankly, you play some of the best story missions Naughty Dog has ever made in their history. And that's what I mean by forcing you to love a character. As Ellie, I played some cool missions and I enjoyed them, but again, they were very basic and felt basic on Naughty Dog terms. But once you're Abby, you play these eventful story missions that really make your jaw drop. So truly, you enjoyed a lot of her playthrough, which made me feel like the developers were trying to impress upon me the fun factor with Abby's play. When in reality, I wanted to just stop playing as her and go and surrender myself to Ellie. As a matter of fact, all of her friends I ran into and all of her people that were there when Joel was killed, I wanted to take them out as Abby. I didn't care, because to me, Joel stopped the killing of a little girl he grew to love as a daughter. It was his burden alone to do that. Yet Abby got this group of people together and put their lives at risk in order to satisfy her selfish needs. Which again made me not feel bad for the people around her. I mean, one guy spit on Joel after he was dead. I was instantly done with that group. I was wholeheartedly on Ellie's side and I wanted all of them gone. But instead, I was playing as these characters and looking at them in different perspectives, trying to humanize them. When I know they're humans, and I already know humans can commit horrific acts. So yeah, I didn't need to see them eating food or talking about their lives and how they felt that day and what troubles they were going through, because I didn't care about them. I never did, and all I wanted to do was play as Ellie and Joel and take these fools out. I would have even played as Tommy taking them out, Joel's brother. I don't care about their lives and what their motives were. They took him out in a horrible way after he helped them. Joel actually helped Abby escape this horde of infected. He stopped her from dying, yet she couldn't even see that he had some good in him. Which brings me to the best parts of the game for me, which were the scenes with Joel and Ellie. I mean, come on, the chemistry there, the acting, the history, everything about them being together feels so natural and amazing. And that's what annoys me the most. It's the fact I feel robbed by this sequel. I should have seen Joel interact with Ellie more. I should have seen them together more. But instead I got flashbacks, which I loved, and I saw these amazing moments with them together. It's the only thing that truly made me love the game, because I got attached to these characters from the first game, and I felt it was one of the most genuine relationships I've seen in a video game. Yet that was ripped away because the developers wanted to show you this cycle of violence and how revenge and violence really isn't the answer. And I get that, but again, you could have earned that and built that up. Not have Joel help a stranger and act completely out of character. I mean, Joel literally walked into the trap that killed him. He fully trusted a stranger he just met and then went into a room with a bunch of strangers, then proceeded to go right in the middle of all of them, being outflanked and surrounded by all of them. I mean, it was the weirdest thing to watch. He seemed like an amateur survivor at this point, and he's one of the best killers and survivors in the world. Yet, he walks in the middle of all of them and gets destroyed, while Tommy just sitting there nonchalantly, feeling great that they're all friends, when in reality, you have no idea what their motives are. Oh, and did I mention at the end of the game, when you can kill Abby as Ellie, you don't kill her. Instead, Ellie has a flashback of Joel and stops herself from killing Abby. I mean, she's killed hundreds upon hundreds of people to get to her, and then at the last minute, just stops. Talk about an anticlimactic and pointless story point. Not to mention, Ellie loses 2 fingers and ends up losing her partner in Dina, not to mention her stepchild. Oh, and she can't play her guitar, the one thing she could remember Joel by, because she lost her fingers. Way to completely destroy and deconstruct a character we all love, all the while taking away Joel, another character we love. All in the name of showing what violence can do. Oh, and by the way, Abby is left to live and did the same exact thing, went on revenge and got it, and lives her life now. Such a dumb story that really annoys me. I mean, I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense, and it honestly just destroys a franchise. Which brings me to the fun factor, and why I find this game one of the weirdest games I've ever played. Because I recommend people to play the game solely for the gameplay. Not the story. Forget the story. The story of the game destroys the game and makes you feel cheated. But as you play for 20 plus hours, you get to enjoy a lot of the cool mechanics, and you get to see some of the best visuals you will ever see in your life. So yes, the game is fun at times, but again, it just gets dragged down by a very weak story. The best way I can compare this game is with Star Wars The Last Jedi, which was shot beautifully, had amazing visuals, but the story and the character development destroyed that franchise. It was the worst Star Wars movie ever made. That's exactly what The Last of Us 2 did. It destroyed the franchise. It has a very high critic score, but the user score is rock bottom. And honestly, it doesn't deserve that much hate like the user score shows, but it doesn't deserve the 95 Metacritic. The story is the thing dragging this game down. And because of that, I have to give the game a 7.5. I mean, I truly wanted to love the game because I loved the first one so much, but I just couldn't bring myself to give this game a better score. I mean, if I'm honest, if it wasn't for the amazing visuals and gameplay, I would have given this game closer to a 7. But again, the gameplay kept me engaged. The acting kept me engaged. The story and the writing was just garbage. This to me is PlayStation's Halo 5, where people loved the gameplay but hated the story, and the game got destroyed because of it. That's exactly how I feel about this game. The gameplay and the graphics are top notch. The story and the writing are bottom of the barrel. Let's hope the next game Naughty Dog works on, they decide to actually respect the characters they created for us to get attached to. But enough of what I think about this game. Tell me what you think about this game. Are you currently playing the game? Have you beaten the game? Do you like Abby's story? Did you connect with any of the new characters introduced? What do you think about the amazing visuals? Did you have a hard time finishing the game like some people I know are? What score would you give the game? Go down below and let me know. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please hit that subscribe button and that like button. The support helps out the channel more than you know. And give me a follow on Twitter at Zalker87. I'm always on there talking games and sharing my latest videos. Plus, I love interacting with everyone there. So get on Twitter and let's talk about gaming. Also, follow me on Xbox Live. My gamer tag is Zalker87, just like my channel name. See what games I'm playing and let's compete in achievements for the month. Right now, I just finished The Last of Us 2, so obviously I'm going to be moving on to another game. I'm not sure what I'm going to be playing. I think I might be playing the Minecraft Dungeons DLC, or I might start Horizon Zero Dawn and play that on my PS4, since I'm kind of used to being on there right now and playing with that controller. And that's all for now. Thanks for watching, and until next time, remember, enjoy your gaming. Later.